time for the conversation, and joining me today to have this conversation is none other than Erickson Odhiambo. He is the Interim Secretary General of the Third Way Alliance Party Kenya. He is also a #Punguza Mzigo promoter, and he is also a champion of alternative thoughts and opinions in the political sphere in the country, and he also doubles up as a youth leader. Erickson, thank you for making time.
Thank you for having me.
Bomas of Kenya, the 26th of October, the launch of the BBI report, touted to be an event that was supposed to be inclusive. The bridge had been built across the whole country to bring everybody together. Yet we saw diverse opinion from Musalia Mudavadi and even the deputy president. And there was little tolerance to contravening opinion on what has been written on the BBI, with Musalia saying it's not the 10 commandments, it can still be amended. What does this say about the BBI in entirety?
Okay. First of all, the BBI report is an illegal process because there's no provision in the Constitution to try to invoke and amend the Constitution by the virtue of two gentlemen shaking hands. And also, it shows you that BBI is unpopular on the ground because it is, in constitution making and constitution doing an overhaul for the Constitution, BBI does not seek to amend the Constitution. BBI seeks to overhaul the Constitution. Mm-hmm. That is, yeah. So when in other democracies, when you want to overhaul or amend the Constitution, it has to accrue interest for the citizens.
Okay.
But what we are seeing, BBI is only accruing interest for the political elite.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we get to whose interest it's serving, let's go through the proposals, and then at the end of the day, Kenyans will decide for themselves. The most hotly and spoken about proposal is where Clause 24 of the bill proposes to insert new articles 151A, 151B, 151C, and 151D, the office of the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister. The Deputy President poked holes into this and said, 5 political seats will not create inclusivity in the country. In your opinion, will it be able to create inclusivity, or it will further marginalize the country?
So first of all, what is inclusivity? For me, inclusivity is all the Kenyans in 1,450 wards getting service delivery on their doorsteps. For me, inclusivity is of the 1,450 wards, Kenyans having water, medical care, education, economic freedom, and things like that. So the inclusivity that is purported by creating an office of the Prime Minister and 2 deputies is just first of all, we cannot afford it as a country because of the wage bill. Secondly, and related to our amendment, what we were, our Punguza Mzigo Kenya bill that we were drumming support for. If we are going to add on a Prime Minister and 2 deputies with packs, they have packs. Theirs are not called salaries. You have a salary. Theirs are packs. They're big. We cannot afford that. Mm-hmm. We were fighting to reduce the expenditure of parliament from 36 billion a year to 5 billion a year by cutting down the number of MPs. On top of that, BBI is proposing to add on some special interest groups MPs from 290 to 300 and something. On top of that, add the Prime Minister and 2 deputies. Prime Minister and 2 deputies, the only thing they are bringing on the table is the tribesmen sitting on the table saying that they are bringing inclusivity. Today I cannot go to State House because if I am from the tribal vernacular speaking and tribal village of Uhuru Kenyatta, I cannot go and queue in State House and be given unga. So this inclusivity is something that escapes my imagination.
Okay.
Because What Kenyans want is inclusivity where they have a country that is functioning and they can access all the basic facilities and have dignity of being Kenyans.
Okay.
That is moving away from poverty.
Now,
So it will not bring inclusivity.
moving on,
Yes.
the BBI also proposes that clause 27 of the bill to amend Article 155, which is cabinet secretaries, and this removes the requirement of vetting of cabinet secretaries proposed by the president in the National Assembly, as has been done before. What does this mean with regards to the independence of cabinet ministries and their ability to deliver service and value to Kenyans?
I'll start by this. First of all, it is clawing back to the gains of the 2010 Constitution and bringing in an imperial presidency, because all the cabinet ministers, as they will be called, I hope it will never go through, will be reporting to the executive. And I will give you an example that happened recently that is still fresh in our memories. Kurgat and the other lady who resigned from the IBC in 2018,
Yes.
they were appointed deputy heads of missions. Did you ask yourself why? Because for deputy head mission, it's not a must you are vetted in parliament. So this is a ploy by the people who run government to integrate total power and to give tokenism and reward cronies when they form government. So it is a very bad narrative. It should not come back to a democracy that is trying to crawl out of baby steps to a full-grown democracy like Kenya. Of course, it's not a good precedent. Yeah.
Staying with the powers that the BBI wants to accord the president, clause 36 of the bill proposes we amend Article 171, which is the establishment of the Judicial Service Commission, to include the Judiciary Ombudsman as a member of the Judicial Service Commission, and he'll be handling complaints and disciplinary in the judiciary. When the president has a say in the office of the judiciary ombudsman, or rather the judicial ombudsman, what does this mean with regards to the independence of the judiciary as we know it and justice to Kenyans?
First of all, this has nothing to do with justice for Kenyans. It has everything to do with the presidency controlling, regaining full control of the judiciary. I will tell you one thing for a fact. The 2010 Constitution, everything, all and the working around it was to clip powers from the presidency, so that we can. In previous regimes, like in the Kanu regime, the presidency was the center of corruption. So Kenyans gave their views in the drafts coming to the 2010 Constitution and said, let's have independent institutions. Let institutions function independently so that they can cast aspersions when the presidency goes wrong. But as we speak right now, the executive has two representatives in the GAC. Okay, so an ombudsman will be a third representative. That is an attempt of grabbing power. In which way? I will tell you which way. This is where judges, complaints against judges are brought. This is where judges are disciplined. This is where judges recommendations for promotions and elevation to higher offices in the judicial structure is done. We will go back to the phone calls at night on judgments, and judges used to be called and told you should either rule this way or hit the highway. It's a clawback to the gains we made as a country, and we are clearly just what can I call it in a good way? We are really making this. We are not breathing life into the 2010 Constitution. Rather, we are strangling it and taking the gains back. Yeah.
One might say that there could be a gain in the BBI report where it's proposing that all governors, we make it mandatory for any gubernatorial race to have a deputy as a female. What does this mean in terms of gender inclusivity? But again, if we have the same requirements for governors, why not have the same for the presidential office and also for cabinet ministries, where if the cabinet secretary is a man, the PS is a female, and vice versa?
Good question. Number one, is this really needed to in the Constitution? Is this requirement to be amended by a way of doing a referendum? It starts with the political parties. That is where it starts from. The goodwill from the political parties all the way to the appointments made in cabinet. Today, even President Uhuru Kenyatta's cabinet does not adhere to the 2/3 gender rule. Leave alone the elected officials, even the appointments in the structure of government, it goes against the 2/3 gender rule. So it is, these are what we call, for us who have read the document and we gave ourselves little time to read and understand it, sweeteners. These are the sweeteners that have been put in the BBI so that the Kenyans will see, oh my God, yeah, 2/3 gender rule, this is happening, good for us. But the ultimate aim of the BBI report, I will tell you this for sure, is to give a political lifeline to guys who should not be in government.
And speaking of political lifelines, the lifeline of the Senate has been termed to be under threat because it is said that the BBI is going to curtail powers of the Senate. What dangers does this pose to devolution, since Senate is sort of an oversight body and a champion of devolution in this country?
And this is where Kenyans should now really interrogate the true intentions of the BBI report. If you remember, before all this happened, before the BBI report came to play, the Senate was in a deadlock, record 11 times, trying to agree on the county funds sharing and everything, okay, county allocation bills. So if in fact, if BBI had good intentions, it would have made Senate the upper house. If BBI had good intentions, why abolish the women representative seat, push them to Senate, then clip their powers? So, you know, their contributions should be substantive, not just a mere rubber stamp of what the executive wants. So it is a clawback to devolution, and it is not advisable at all to support this kind of amendment.
Clause 47 of the bill proposes to amend Article 218, Annual Division and Allocation of Revenue, to mean that the Division of Revenue bill should be raised nationally between the national and county levels of government shall be introduced to Parliament, and which shall consider it within 21 days from the date of publication. What does this mean to the revenue allocation debate installment that we've seen now that we are introducing the National Assembly into this conversation and giving it as much power?
First of all, this is lack of political goodwill. If the people represented, the people elected by the Kenyan public in these positions of representation, and be that as it may, exercising the powers of the people as per Section 1, Article 1 of the Constitution, they would have done all this. But you know what happened, and you saw what happened. Everyone was going back to their political godfather to ask for permission to go ahead and do the mandate they were actually elected to do by Kenyans. So I don't see any landmark achievement there, because this is not something that lies with the parliament or a Senate. It lies with what the Kenyans echo and what they want to be done with the money going to the counties. Yes? I don't know if I've answered you the way I'm supposed to answer you, but yeah, I think it's basically an unbasis issue to be put in the constitution.
I
Because
mean, there's no right or wrong answer. BBI is still at that conversation stage where people should air out opinions, whether diverse or in agreement. Now, some might say that there are sweeteners, like you've mentioned it, of few wins for devolution. In the BBI report, clause 45 of the bill proposes to insert new Article 207 Ward Development Fund, and this shall comprise at least 5% of the county's budget. This and other proposals, having read the report, what are some of the wins for devolution, or sweeteners as you call them, have you encountered in this report? Because Kenyans need to know both sides of the sword.
so first of all, I'll ask you. I'll tell you something maybe you know or don't know. The Ward Development Fund, it's something that we first proposed under Punguza Mizigo Kenya. So why is it so special when it is in BBI, but when it is in Punguza Mizigo, it's supposed to be shot down at the county assembly level? So it is insincerity. It is very insincere of the people who drafted this. In fact, they stole the proposed amendments from Punguza Mizigo Kenya, and they are actually we actually patented those amendments. So the sweeteners.
Erickson, irrespective of who the sweetener belongs to, what good will 5% do as Ward Development Fund?
Yep. Sorry?
I'm saying irrespective of who proposed it, it might come to pass. Question is, what good will it be able to do to people? Because people also need to understand if there is some good for them in there.
True, but you know, my sister, when we look at this BBI, we look at it holistically. I cannot look at only what development fund. Yeah, if we with the former referendum question, it will cover the Ward Development Fund and the provisions of the Office of the Prime Minister and deputies, like you have said. So what is the bigger picture? Ward Development Fund is something that can be done as a service charter. It doesn't even have to be in the constitution. It is just political goodwill. It is just goodwill from the governors working hand in hand with the county ward representatives. So yeah, it is a good thing, but it's a long shot from the holistic view of the document.
Quite a tough stand you're taking there, but we're still going to stay with that course. There's also a proposal to increase revenue allocation to counties from 15% to that 5%. Your take on that?
My take on that, I don't know why they used 10 billion to write this report and come and tell this to Kenyans. Because as we see today, nothing stops the government from increasing the cap from 15% to even 50%. Nothing. It's political goodwill from the executive working hand in hand with the Council of.
Erickson?
Yes, you can hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I don't see why you look at it as a win, because it is something that should have been done a long time ago. Did it have to wait for the BBI so that it could be done? They would have done it from the word go. We have all these committees and all these. Even we have a CS for devolution who's paid a salary to look into things like this. But it's being who will not look at the bigger picture. These guys know when they hit the ground running, this thing is unpopular. They will not, Mwananchi, you know, Kenyans have one disease that I think it will not go away at any time soon. It's the goldfish memory syndrome. We forget very fast. We've already forgot about COVID-19 millionaires. Now we're talking about BBI and 15%, 35%. Yeah, so anyway, we still we'll keep vigil, keep educating Kenyans on the bigger picture about this report.
As we almost come to a conclusion of this conversation, I think your biggest lesson from the BBI report, or what you're drawing from it, is we can do all these things if there's political goodwill in the country. We don't have to create 10 documents to sort of push leaders into that direction. It only takes them to have the goodwill to grow this country.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. Political goodwill goes hand in hand with.
I'm struggling to hear you. Do you mind taking the point again? Erickson?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, take the point again.
Can you hear me? So, political goodwill comes with some level of political goodwill comes with some level of goodwill from the politicians who are honest. And this all goes with Chapter 6 of the Constitution, where they paint a picture of an ideal candidate who's supposed to hold public office. Yeah? But you look even in BBI, I don't think you came across that. They're saying they also need to amend that Chapter 6. That doesn't have a problem. If the Chapter 6 had a problem, we are the ones who have a problem, because we have not jailed anyone who has gone against that, because it says you should bring integrity and honor in the office you hold. All that we bring in the offices we hold are the keys to the IFMIS systems and how to manipulate them. So yeah, the political goodwill is not there at all. And I want to challenge Kenyans. Yeah, when someone with the stature of I think Kenyans like politicians who are tainted, and they're the biggest problem for the 54 years. I'll just challenge Kenyans. Yeah, in 2017, a guy came from abroad after running a lot of international missions.
Sure.
He had no taint. He had a very good manifesto. He had no corruption backdate or anything on his name, and he ran for president. But as we do in Kenya, yeah, they treated him as a newcomer and an outsider who's not supposed on that podium. That's Dr. Ekuru Aukot. And we went ahead and voted for people who have questionable characters. So you're as good as the leaders you get. So I think there should be a paradigm shift in the thinking of and how you interrogate ideas instead of personalities in this country. And
Sure.
the youth should be at the forefront. Yes, yes.
I have 30 seconds left on the clock. Do we need the BBI report, or do we just need political goodwill and full implementation of the 2010 Constitution?
We don't need the BBI report. If the BBI report goes through, this country will go through another turmoil of political machinations that we don't need in the next 10 to 5 years. We need full implementation of the Constitution. We need leaders that heed to the cries of the Mwananchi on the ground. And we don't need political con artists. We at least need honest people who are really ready to work for Kenyans.
Tough stand you've taken there, but there's your opinion, which is allowed because we are still at the conversational stage of the BBI process. A referendum might come, it might not come, who knows? But Erickson has done his due diligence as a Kenyan. He's read it. I read it in preparation of this show, and I would encourage that before any politician comes and tells you what's good for you or what's not, you read it. But again, those are just my thoughts. Vincent Odhiambo will be coming in shortly with Social Watch to share your thoughts on social media. See you shortly.